Alright, how's it going today? I'm Brady from Evoke Outdoors. I'm going to show you guys how to change a tube. So I have this bike here. I'm going to take the wheel out. It's got a quick release. Just open the quick release. Your wheel comes out. First thing I'm going to do, kind of got your valve stem cap. Truthfully, I usually just throw these away. I think they're kind of a waste. Some people will say, oh, it keeps some air in, and I don't know if I believe that. I'm going to let some air out. I got to let the air out. This is not a pop tire or blown tire, so I will let the air out. We're going to pretend that I just hit something, and got a flat tire. So again, on these Presta valves, to let the air out, there's a little nut on the end. You have to unscrew that to let the air out, otherwise you won't go anywhere. So all the air is out. Tire iron, you're going to want a tire iron in your bag. Mountain biking, road biking, it's good to have something just underneath the seat too with these things in it. Tire iron, an extra tube, a pump or a CO2. In a later video I'll go through those things, maybe things that you should bring along on a ride. But I'm going to take my tire iron. I'm going to start around the valve stem. Some people say they're opposite. I think with the valley and the rim, it helps draw it in so you can get your tire iron underneath. I don't go exactly at it, I just kind of go next to it. And then once I get my tire iron in, it's going to be that piece, not that piece, this end. I'm going to go all the way around and get my tire off of my wheel. So now I got it all off. Now I need to take off my little valve stem nut here, otherwise my tube won't come out. That little guy there. So now what I'm going to do is kind of pull the tire away from the rim, kind of push up on my valve stem, which is going to give me access to the tube. I'm going to take the tube out. There's my tube. We're going to put this in our backpack. We're not going to leave it along the side of the road, obviously. And we'll get out our new tube. Actually, let me go back real quick. With the old tube, it's always good to blow some air in it and see if you can find where the hole is. Let's say I found a hole in a certain area. I can then line up my valve stem to where the hole is. And let's say I had a staple or a nail or a tack or whatever, a pine, what do you call those things? Cactus needle. And kind of see in the general area where it might be. So again, you hear that air coming out, go and just feel in there with your fingers, kind of underneath. Obviously be careful if it's something sharp. But then I also like to run my hand around the whole tire and just check for anything that's in there. You don't want anything in there that, the worst is when you take a bad tube out, you do all that work, you put your new tube in and there's still something stuck in your tire, and then you go ahead and pop your new tube. So again, check your tire, make sure that there is nothing still in there. So I'm going to take my new tube. Again, I think you saw me blow air in there. It's super easy. Goes in but doesn't come out until I push up on that. That just makes it a little bit more rigid to help get the tube back in your tire. So again, you're going to have to find where the hole is for your valve stem. Found it there. Something that I like to do is just kind of line up the logo over the hole. Whatever logo you have there. Little mechanics trick. Kind of makes it seem like you know what you're doing. We'll put the old www.com right over there. Valve stem. So now you can either push it out and go in, or pull it back. I pull it back, I can see the hole nice and easy. Put it through, and I have to lift the tire kind of over the tube, make sure I don't damage the tube. Again, my new tube I'm putting in. And then I'm going to go around and just tuck the tube all the way into the tire, all the way around. Make sure you get it all the way in so it's not pinched in between the rim and the tire. Alright, now that I know that I have it in, Again, my tire's not on, so I need to put my tire back on. I like to start across from the valve stem because it kind of helps the bead of the tire is kind of this piece, and you want that to get caught on the side of the rim evenly all the way around. So if I get this bead on down here, down in the valley of the rim, it just helps later on in the process when I'm up by my valve stem. So a lot of times too, when you get to the top and you just got a little bit left, that's where it's the hardest. So if you notice I went around with my thumbs evenly. Once you get to the top, you can kind of grab and grip it. You got to kind of grip everything and just kind of roll it on, and everything's good. I like to kind of make sure that, go back around, make sure everything's on. I'm then going to grab my valve stem nut. Tighten that back on there. Not too tight, just kind of snug. And then get your pump or your CO2 or your compressor if you have one. Just to have at the house or at work. I'm going to fill that up, not all the way. So I'm going to go around and make sure that my bead on my tire is set evenly all the way around. There's this little line that you can see. A lot of times if it's off, you'll see it farther away from the rim or closer in, or you won't see it at all if it's stuck in. And if it is, sometimes if you have just a little air, you can kind of massage it to kind of get it to pop out. Sometimes you have to let air out and do it again. But I look pretty good there. So, put the rest of my air in. I like to get it close with the compressor, but then I always finish it off with the pump. Again, Park Tools makes awesome stuff, this pump. I've actually had this for years. So again, make sure that your Presta valve is open so you can get air in there. On these pumps, and most pumps do, a lot of them have a 2 holes, one for the Presta, one for the shredder. Obviously use the correct one. Some this is closed, some this is closed. Most of them, it's when it's down, it's closed. This one is kind of written on there, which is nice. So when it's open, it's unlocked. When I put it down, it's then locked on the valve stem. So again, open. I am going to put it on my valve stem and close. Open, push off. Be careful when you do this though to make sure, sometimes you can damage that little end of your Presta valve, but I'm going to screw back tight now. You probably heard all that air coming out. That's not air coming out of your tube, it's actually air coming out of your pump, what's left in the hose. So you're not losing PSI when you take that off. Maybe a couple, but not much. And again, I put 95 PSI. If you look at your tire, it will say rotation. It's always good to have it go in the right direction. But then also, it'll tell you inflate to 95 PSI. Some will have a range from, say, whatever, 40 to 60, 90 to 110. Once you start riding more, you'll kind of know where you're at. As obviously with a higher PSI, it's going to roll better, it's going to roll faster and easier. With a lower PSI, say for mountain biking, you're going to get kind of better traction in those corners and things. Thanks a lot for watching the video. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great day.